All right, we're live again. Just wanted to do a quick stream for some of those guys out there. I don't know who's going to show up. The new and improved Kenny with clean-shaven face. Trying to get a better picture. Let's see if I can get one over here. How's that? That's not too bad. All right, I don't know who's there. Hopefully. Let's see if I shut it. Yeah. Hey, James. Beautiful. Yeah, all cleaned up. Trying to find a good light. You know what it was? It hit 50 here, James, and I figured 50 was the magic number. I don't need the beard anymore. I'm still working outside, but it's not as cold as it was. So glad to hear you're doing well, and I'm so glad you're back. We all are. I don't know who's going to join us, but I wanted to talk about failing because, you know, when you're doing the small engine work like me, there's failures all the time. I mean, that's how we learn things. Today, in my last video, I talked about that D105, and I found some good solutions to some of the problems on that, some smart solutions by winding up the spring so that I could take this spring here that had to be coiled down to basically nothing. I put it in my vise, coiled it down, wrapped it with some music wire. That way I could install it and then cut the wire after, like when you buy a shock absorber and the shock absorber comes all wired up. That was all well and good. So I take the transmission out, I go to put the spring in, and I look, and the screw that fastens it on top is broken off. And I said that in the video. Well, of course, it's an M4, so it's a very fine screw. Try and drill out a hardened M4 screw in a hardened shaft without wallowing it out or breaking off your drill bits. Well, needless to say, after about 2 or 3 drill bits and countless swear words and everything else, basically I wasn't that successful. Yeah, basically deer throwaways. Yeah, the D should be deer throwaway, that's for sure. Anyway, now I got the customer who's a friend of a friend. He's actually a preacher, supposedly. And nice guy, and I do a lot of favors for people too, and I don't rate people. I charge very reasonable rates, and that's why they come to me, because I'm very fair. And now I'm thinking to myself, he needed 2 tires. I bought the tires. I put tires on for him. You know, that was about $100. And I bought the kit for the pulleys that have to go on, and that's another, you know, $65, $70 right there. You know, so I'm into it for $160, $170 just in parts. Well, now I have basically I can't get the pulley fastened on there, the cap that goes onto the pulley. What am I going to do? Well, there is an option. The option is where the washer goes on top of the spring to hold it on. Instead of holding it with the little screw that is prone to failure all the time, that's what happened on this one, it snapped off, I can weld it on. The cap is actually a steel cap. I can put the cap on and I can spot weld it, you know, tack weld it on, and it should be fine. The only problem is if you ever have to change the belt, which probably isn't that often on these, you'd have to grind off the weld, you know, to get the pulley off. So I'm just thinking to myself, that's probably the way I'm going to do it. But you do small engine work, and there are failures. There are times when you're working on something and all of a sudden something breaks. Not your fault. Well, it is your fault. I mean, you didn't realize that you had a pry bar in the wrong position, and a piece of plastic snaps off, and now like, oh boy, and it's a $30 piece of plastic or something. You know, stuff like that happens. In this case, the previous owner went in there, and he must have been screwing around because I found a little socket hanging on the bottom. I know, you like that, Tim? Hey, just about this, I want to look like my idol Craig Timmons. Just so you know, my idol Craig Timmons. You know, I'm living vicariously through Craig with all his builds, so I want to look like him. All right, we're the same age. We graduated high school the same year, so now Craig and I can be like brothers with the haircuts and the facial shaved. You know. Anyhow, so great to see you back, James. So yeah, there are failures. There are times when I'm working on something, I'm putting the last bolt on something, the 27th bolt on something. All of a sudden, snap. Well, now what do you do? well, that's a fail, but most of the time it's recoverable. But people don't realize when you're working on small engines, people bring me sometimes power equipment where there is no repair. All right, an old chainsaw that's scored up. There's expensive ways to fix things, but if the guys are looking for budget repairs, no, it's not going to happen. And is it a failure? No, not a failure. People say, oh, you couldn't fix it. No, I can fix anything, basically. It's just how much do you want to pay for something? And a lot of my customers, I'll be honest with you, don't want to spend a ton of money on stuff. Some people look at their power equipment, say it was their father's, grandfather's, and want to spend money, but some just don't want to spend it. And I agree with that. That's fine. And I don't charge a lot of money. I really don't. My friends yell at me all the time saying, you're giving it away. I do it for the love of it. I really do. Yeah, like I said, James, good to see you on here. I just, sometimes I feel bad if I can't fix something for someone, especially if I can't fix it for a reasonable price. And I shouldn't. And small engine guys out there, whoever you are out there, when you're fixing stuff, failures happen. Things can't be fixed sometimes. Things can't be fixed economically. Bolts strip, bolts break, plastic breaks, metal breaks. And you know what? It happens. And most of my customers, totally reasonable. If I'm honest with them and say, look, this is what happened, and they say to me, what can we do? And once in a while you get a customer that says, well, you better fix it or whatever. Yeah, but you know what? You'll probably never see that customer again. And you fix it, and sometimes you have to eat some costs, and that's fine. And I'll be honest with you, if I am working on something and I break it, I fix it. And I pay for it, whatever it is. If it's a $50 bracket to a $2 screw, yeah, I'll fix it, because it's my fault. One thing I've noticed about repairs over the years, and this Deere, it proves it to me. I've never worked on one of these general transmissions, plastic transmissions before. I've seen them, people complain about them all the time, and I've seen them, and they're about $400 if you want to buy a new one. But everything's fixable, and I always believe in everything can be fixed. So I said, let me take a stab at it. Well, when I looked and saw that the spring retainer was broken on top and the thing was just hanging there, okay, I went online, I saw a couple of repairs. Okay, seems like that's the standard repair, buy the kit, put on the new washer, all that stuff. Okay, but once I took the tranny out, that's when I saw a broken cam selector, and I saw some other stuff in there. And the thing is, do you spend the money up front taking all this stuff apart so that you can see? And I probably should, but I know when I got this thing, I didn't have a lot of time last week. I really didn't have time to tear it apart. Well, you know what? Lesson learned. The next time I get something with one of these plastic transmissions, I'm going to physically remove it. It takes you, no more than 10, 15 minutes to remove it. And after I remove it, I'll do a full inspection. What's broken? What do I think it needs? Then I could be in a situation where, okay, you want new tires and you want this and that, but here's the deal. Your transmission is broken. It's going to cost you this amount of money, worst case, and just give the customer the options up front. Now I'm sort of in a bind where I've already bought the tires, I already bought the pulley kit, and now I have a shaft that has a messed up tapped hole in it. What do I do? Well, I'm going to ask him, and he's probably going to say, look, just weld it on. As long as it works, we're good. And that's fine. But you got to be honest with the customer. Don't lie to them. Not that the customer's going to go underneath there and try and play with it, although this one did. I did find a 9/32 socket stuck underneath the grass clippings in there. Yeah, absolutely. And it happens every day, every week. Yeah, I mean, one thing I enjoy about what I do, because my job is keeping machines running at the company I work for, and I have a team of electricians and mechanics that work for me that keep things going, and a great team of guys in 3 locations. And we learn every day. I mean, we could change a part and nothing happens, and then the next day someone raises their hand and says, hey, let's try this. And it's really just such satisfaction when you can fix a 40-year-old piece of equipment that production is depending on, and nobody seems to know what's wrong with it, and you guys figure it out. It's really... I love it. That's why I love going to my job every day. We fix problems, and it's a great place to be in my life right now. Fixing things both professionally and as a hobby here too. So, I'm in a good spot. But just like I said, to reiterate on the title of this video, failure happens. It does. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to take something apart. If you have kids and the kids want to take something apart, let them. I mean, I'm a big fan of when the kid's 5 years old and wants to take the toaster apart, let him take it apart. That's how I learned, and then my parents got smart, bought me an erector set. So, I had something else I could play with, but I was the type of kid, I was always taking stuff apart. And sometimes does stuff go back together 100%? No, but eventually we figured it out, You know, oh, absolutely, James. You know, it's funny. When I was younger, someone told me, an old man told me, learn one thing a day minimum. One thing a day. When you go to bed at night, you say to yourself, what'd you learn today? All right. And he actually told me keep a journal. And this guy was in his 90s at the time, and he actually kept a journal of every day since he was a young child of what did I learn today. And he had like binders full of books, and it was hilarious. Just some of the stuff, you know, dated back to the 30s and 40s, and just, you know, things like put your ashes in a metal bucket instead of putting them, you know, next to the carpet or outside next to the grass where you're going to catch a fire. Things like that. I mean, just little things that you don't think of, but hey, it's something you learn every day, you know. But that's the way I feel. What else? What else? What else? I was hoping Timmons would be here because I wanted to show him the new face, you know, my idol, Craig Timmons. I wanted to show him. But that's about it for me right now, guys. Like I said, this tranny here and everything else, I've got to go work on an International Harvester 154 Lowboy, which is a 4-cylinder tractor modeled off the Farmall Cub, and it's got basically the Cub Cadet style of rear end differential in it, because I'm really into the International Harvester Cub Cadets, built by International between 61 and roughly 82. But this thing here, they had the clutch. I don't know if anyone's familiar with the Cub Lowboys. The clutch is in the back of the tractor. What happened to my beard, Nikki? Well, it got to be in the 50s here, and I had it shaved. You know, I had the beard to keep myself, you know, warm. Because I do a lot of work outside in my driveway. I really do. When it's nice out, it's sunny out, I'll work in my driveway. I like being outside. But real reason, I want to be like my idol, Craig Timmons. You know, I want to look like Craig. So, you know, I got to live vicariously through him. So why not look like him? Anyway, it took more than a weed eater. I tell you, it's funny. My barber is in his late 70s, and he's been cutting my hair for over 20 years. And the funny thing is, he uses a straight razor. And it's the nicest cut in the world when they go in there with a straight razor, but it scares the hell out of me because he's like, da, 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 you know, and just scary, but he never flinches, knock wood. He hasn't flinched yet. My jugular hasn't been cut. He's done a good job over the years. So, you know, my buddy Dominique, he's my barber. He's been doing it for 20 plus years, and I love him to death. And just, you know, hey, you get comfortable with people. You go to the same barber, you go to the same, you know, deli to get your cold cuts. You know, routine. I like routine. I like going to the same restaurants and diners all the time, see the same people, say hello. You know, it's nice. You form that bond over the years, you know. But anyway, getting back to this International Harvester, what happened was the input shaft on the transmission, he said he put in all the different gears, the 3 forward and 1 reverse, and it wouldn't move. Nothing would happen. So I went over there, and of course this guy didn't really have any tools. He had some basic wrenches and things, and of course there's a million bolts to take these things off. See mine for you. Actually, mine grew about 1.5 inches in 3 months. So, you know, that's about average for me. Hot Rod, good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are. Welcome. Telling everyone on here, don't be afraid to fail. You know, you do small engine work, you're bound to fail. You know, I didn't have a fail, but, well, I did have a fail today. I tried to drill out an M4 hardened screw that was in a hardened shaft, snapped off, and I failed. I wasn't able to do it. I broke a couple of drills. I tried going oversized for quarter 28 to have a nice fatter thread, but fine pitch, and that tap broke, little stuff like that. You know what? I gave up on it, but I said, what's the remedy? What could I do? And what I can do is I could take the washer that goes on top of it, the cup washer, open that hole up, and weld a puddle around it, like people do when they take out bolts and nuts and stuff that are broken, or studs that are broken, and I'll do that, and it'll work. The only thing is, if I ever have to change the belt, I'll have to grind the weld off. But you know what? For the cost and everything else, it's worth it to the owner. So that's what I'm going to do. But anyway, getting back to the Cub Cadet, not Cub Cadet, International Harvester Cub Lowboy 154. There's a clutch that's right in front of the transmission where the operator sits, and on back of the flywheel is a cast-in boss with a hole and a saw cut through it, and that's where a bolt goes through to bolt into the input shaft, and that's where you transfer the clutch. Pressure plate disc goes to the pressure plate, which is the flywheel, and transmits it to the input shaft. Well, we opened up the shifter plate, it went inside, and I could spin the input shaft, so I knew it wasn't connected to anything. So I asked the guy who's a friend of mine, he's a school bus driver, a retired guy in town. I said, look underneath. I was over there for about an hour and a half, and I had to leave. And I said, dude, check underneath tomorrow, see if you could see the pin underneath. And he can't see anything, so I have to go over there after I'm done with this just to see how he's doing. But, this deer thing, though, it gets you a little peeved because, you spend a couple hours and you say to yourself, man, I wasted my time. Well, I didn't waste my time. I learned something. Okay, like all small engine repairs you do, whether it be chainsaws or tractors or with mowers, you learn something basically every time you do it. And, I keep most of the stuff here, but, it's good to write some of the stuff down because, no one can remember everything. But, like I said, it's okay to fail. We're all going to fail at least, once or twice in our lives, and probably once or twice every week. But with small engines, yeah, you're going to fail. You're going to snap off bolts. You're going to break a bracket. You're going to do something. Hopefully, and 99% of the time, these fails are recoverable. And that's where you have to really spend the time and effort. Yeah, Nikki, it looks like James is doing good. They took his tube out. He's talking. I mean, I saw him on my video this morning, and I was like amazed. Oh my gosh! So, hey, I guess God heard our prayers, James, and hopefully all is going well, and the prognosis is going well. But you got a lot of people pulling for you, James. I know that. I was looking at Maddie's video before. Now, answer me if I'm wrong. The video says intake. There's nothing about intake on that video. I watched the video and I was hoping he'd show me how to do the intake on my 350 or my 346 XP competition saw that I'm going to be racing with Maddie in the May get-together in Norwich. Hopefully some of the guys on here will be there besides him. But like I said, I'm not doing all the expensive porting and stuff like he's doing. I'm going to do some of it, but I don't have all those porting tools like Maddie has. And but hopefully I'll give him a good competition. I'll put a nice chain on it and hopefully get enough torque out of mine to cut some cookies and be in competition with Matt. So we'll see. He's joking on the video saying, Ken doesn't have a chance, but we'll see. My ME background, my machine background. Let's see how I could do against a dentist. We'll see. Anywho, he'll probably blow me away and break him off on me for the next 6 months, but that's fine too. Matty's a good guy. What else can I talk about today? The 136, I'm still trying to figure out. I'm going to have to make a tool to get the oil pump gear off. That oil pump gear, it's basically 16.5 millimeter OD with a 1.75 pitch, and there's nothing around, whether it be a plumbing fitting or anything even close to that arrangement. So in order to pull it off safely without stripping it or breaking it, I'm going to have to, get on my lathe and make something. And that's fine. I'll do that. Wasn't looking forward to having to make something, but, one-shot deal. But, I'll do it. I looked online. Husqvarna does sell a tool to do it. I think it's about $30. You know what? I'd rather play with my lathe and do it myself. What else for you guys? Oh, someone was asking me about my degree wheel. I got this one, Action Pro, or Motion Pro. I think it's the same one that Walt uses, a Fleet Command. I got it on Amazon. I believe it was $12, if I'm not mistaken. It's a nice degree wheel. I mean, the one I ordered was black. It came blue. I don't know why, but it's a real nice degree wheel. Easy to read. Okay, I've been watching Scott Kuntz's videos, Tree Monkey there, and he's got a clear steel wheel. To me, it just seems like it might be a little hard to read, but this one's nice. It's nice and direct. You can see the nice crisp numbers, easy to read. So I'm looking forward to using that on my my race saw for Maddie. See what the numbers are. All right, I guess that's about it for now, guys. I've taken up enough of your time. I wish Craig was here. I want to show him the face. Try a collection of nuts. Just one full turn. There you go. Mounted on a drill. Yeah, you say that. You know what, Tim? What do I got right here? Half-inch drill chuck. I just have to turn down the end here so it'll fit on there. I did have a spare one. I probably have 6 or 7 of these laying around. So, yeah, I saw that a few guys on there use those, and real good deal. I'm going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it down with a shoulder, put a thread on it, and then I'll use a nylock nut with a couple of wave washers, and that way I can adjust the tension so I can move it freely without having to unscrew it every time. I'll use the pressure from wave spring washers, and that way it'll keep a little tension on it, and that way I can just slide it to when I have to zero it. That way I'll never have to use a wrench with it. I'll tighten it up, pull a tension on it, and it'll be good to go. So yeah, that's something that's upcoming too. All right. One thing I want to talk to you guys about real quick. Batteries. spring season, you know, people doing tractors and stuff like that, and they go out there, no battery's not good, whatever. I bought this Topdon tester. It's called a Topdon Arty Battery 101. It's about $53, which could be a little pricey for some people, but I'll be honest with you, my truck, when it was really cold about 3 weeks ago, we had like 0 temperature. I wanted to make sure, was it the battery? Is it the starter? Is it the alternator? What really is it? This tester, I saw it on Chuck E 2009's video. He had a video on this. And I tell you, it's a great tester. You plug it in, it asks if the battery's charged or not. You say no or yes. It goes through and you dial in your CCA or CA, depending on what it is, and whether it's AGM battery, wet battery, whichever type of glass mat, whatever the construction is. Hit the button, it says testing. After it's done with testing, it'll automatically tell you what the cold cranking amps are in your battery at that point. And based on that, it'll tell you to either recharge the battery, get rid of it, or the battery is good. And in my case, my 650 amp cold cranking amp truck battery was only at like 320. So I knew it needed a battery anyway. West Hill Shop. West Hill Saw Shop. Who's West Hill, Tim? Who is it? Is it someone we know? I've heard of it before, but I don't know if I know the individual. I've seen, you know, Steve's Engine Saloon and, you know, all the guys that everybody else watches, and Walt and all those guys. But anyway, with this thing here, then you could do a starting test, and it actually tests the starter draw. I guess if the starter draw is under 10 volts or something while you're cranking, it's no good. But actually, it will test that and tell you he's in Rhode Island. I got to check him out. Test your starter, and then when you're done with that, it asks you, you know, to start the engine. You start the engine, then it tests the alternator output, and it actually does what's called a ripple test. And a ripple test tests the diode trios inside your alternator to tells you if the diodes are working, you know, to go from AC to DC. And I tell you, this thing told me that my starter system's good, told me my alternator's good, just need a new battery. Put the new battery in, thing is beautiful. And I'm going to start using it on my tractors too. In a week or so, it's going to start to be grass season again. So I've got 9 tractors, not that I need them, but I have 9. I have to check the batteries and see what the state is. And I'll do a couple videos on this. But like I said, it's called a Topdon Arty, A-R-T-I, Arty Battery 101. You get it on Amazon for $53 shipped to you if you have Prime, and it's a hell of a tool. I recommend it to anybody. All right, guys, if there's no more questions, I'm going to take off and go work on that International Harvester 154. Again, James, hats off to you, buddy. Hopefully everything is good. Hopefully we'll see you on Matty's channel tonight if he comes on. I know he's going to rib me about our 346 SP. Geller Wetzel, yeah, it does all of them, Tim. It does AGM, it does all that. It's like 6 different choices of the battery types. That's what I like about it. You can do anything. I've used it a dozen times so far. I had it in my truck the other day at work. I was leaving work. Why I saw it tends... What? It tends to be rich? What, your plug's all black, or is it bogging down, or what? What's going on with the saw that you're saying rich? Because normally it's the other way around. Usually air leaks and things like that cause the lean. Yeah, rich. I mean, if I take out a plug and I see it's black and it's overly rich, yeah, black plug. Did you check your mixture screws to make sure that everything is good with that you're not just way turned out? I mean, how's it running? Is it? I run mine, to be honest with you. I do have the DTI, the TT20K tack that Walt uses, and screw is in. Yeah, but how many turns out is it? What saw and how many turns out? Because my rule of thumb is if you have to turn out more than, say, 1.5, 1 3/4, something may be off. But usually that's a lean, though. It's not usually rich. But the thing is, if you have a leak somewhere with a lean condition, you could be cranking that sucker out until it runs good, which would make it run real fat and rich until it warms up. And then once the leak comes on, then it gets better because now the leak is compensating with all that rich fuel. So is it running great when it's cold, but then it starts acting up when it's warm, and then you have to turn out the screws? What's happening? Because that happened to me on this 136 that had the bad seal, where when you first started it ran great. But what happened was, once I warmed it up and the seals opened up a little bit on the crankshaft, I had to turn it out 5 turns just for it to run. It wouldn't even run. So that's how I knew I had the problem. And the dealer told my customer that too, and he said, too expensive to put seals in, so he gave it to me to fix. But yeah, Rich, you don't really hear much about Rich that often. Usually it's the lean. But if you're trying to overcompensate for a lean condition, you can richen the hell out of it when it's warm, and then when it's cold, it's going to make your plug black until it warms up. So that could be too. So you may want to do a pressure vac test just to make sure you don't have anything going on there. What is the saw though, Nick? What is it? Is it like a 394 or something? 20 years old. 395. Okay, 395. Yeah. You may want to bring that up with Maddie tonight, but like I said, most of the time it's lean conditions, and we try and over-richen to compensate, and you'll see the plug really getting black at idle before it gets cold. I'm sorry, before it warms up, because it's running real fat, and then once it warms up and the air leaks happen, then it evens out and it seems like it's running fine, but it's not. It's actually running overcompensated, so you really got to watch that. All right, like I said, that's it. I got to head off, work on the international. Hopefully I'll be back on soon. My buddy does his own repairs. Yeah, I've got a few people do their own repairs, and they usually end up coming to me when they pull their hair out. But I'll be honest with you, I love working with my friends. You know, they come over and I'll show them something, and they're like, oh, I should get one of those tools, or I should get one of those, and they never do. They just come over to my house, and that's okay. I love when my friends come over and we bench race and have some fun. So, all right, guys, let me take it off from here. I don't know if I'll be on later. Hopefully Maddie will. We can talk about the 350 again. And James, again, welcome back to the living. That's all I can say. It's great to have you back, and hopefully we'll see you on Maddie's channel. And hopefully prognosis is good. And let's take off the flywheel. Turn. Yep. Let's take off flywheel. Oh, okay. Anyway, that should be it for me, guys. Have a good rest of the day. What time is it now? It's about 2 o'clock here Eastern time. So I'm going to hit it, head off, and see what that repair is. If it's something I can film, maybe I'll do a live on the road from this guy's house. We'll see what kind of Wi-Fi he's got. Let's see. Told me to break fin. Yeah, but now you got to break the other fin to make it balanced, right, Nick? Yeah. Just as long as it's in balance. I know a few people do that, especially 395 or 394. Those you can't find those flywheels. So, yeah, just like we said, Tim, good thumbs up and smileys to James. Glad to have him back in the family. And, all right, guys, that's it for me. Let me sign off, and we'll talk to you later. Have a great day, guys.